Hello everyone, welcome back. After uploading my first video on the SiN Reloaded demo, I spent a bit more time playing through it and I realised there were a few things I either glossed over or didn't mention at all. So rather than making another playthrough video, I thought I'd put together this little follow-up to cover some of those details I missed. First thing I wanted to talk about a bit more is the updated water effects. Compared to the original game, it's definitely one of the more noticeable visual upgrades. It all has much nicer reflections and movement. I briefly mentioned this when I saw it in my playthrough, but I just wanted to experiment with turning it on and off so you can see what it looks like if you disable it. Obviously it looks more like the water in the original game. It does look a bit more modern and a bit nicer. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to keep it enabled or not when I play the full game when it's released. I'll have to see how I feel about it then. I'll probably want to see a level with more water in, because this level doesn't really have like a lot of water in it. Like the oil rig level, it'd be cool to see that with this new water effect turned on, how it looks. I also wanted to mention the particle effects, which I noticed in the menu, and can change between square, soft circles and points. So I've just got some footage of me shooting missiles just to show what that looks like. Switching between the different options. It's the same as was in the Quake 2 remaster. I'll probably just leave it on default settings though, as I think that's the most close to the original. But yeah, it's a nice option to have. I also noticed, once I kind of played through the demo a few times more, that the friendly security guards have a little strange behaviours. They get kind of stuck or confused about where they're supposed to go, or they just sort of stand there. It's hard to say whether this is carried over from the original game or it's just a quirk of the demo, but it's something I spotted a few times on replaying it. They just get kind of stuck for a while. Although I did notice a few times one of them would follow me through the whole museum and help me fight the enemies, or sometimes it just freeze. And then obviously this other one just runs off and disappears if you save him, which is a bit disappointing. Again, I don't know if this is part of the original game or just something that's part of this demo. But yeah, they do seem a bit glitchy. So it'd be good maybe if they could kind of tweak that a little bit, just to make them stick to what they're supposed to be doing a bit better. But I guess the AI is pretty limited for back then. They're not quite as good as the NPCs in sort of Half-Life or something, following you or doing what you tell them to. I also realised I completely forgot to show off some of the weapons in my last video. So here's a couple of the ones I missed. I used cheats to get the Stinger missiles that fires multiple small missiles. They're sort of one of the better guns in the Wages of SiN expansion. It's really useful in open areas, but not so good in like cramped corridors or anything. So I can't really use it much in this level, to be fair, because you just end up blowing up all the art, which you're obviously not meant to do. So yeah, not great for this level, but on some of the more open, bigger levels, it's good for taking out enemies. And also the spider mines, which I probably could have used. But again, I didn't really want to use explosives that much in this level. But it's good for taking out enemies that are kind of round corners, and it's cool that you can kind of look through their perspective. And also, yeah, if there's like enemies above you, you can throw them up sort of ladders and stuff to reach enemies that are sort of further away from you. So quite useful. Another thing that caught my attention was some of the changes they made to the level design. Most of the layouts are pretty familiar if you've played the original SiN, but I noticed there are a few subtle tweaks here and there once I went back to the original game after playing this. Like the bit outside the fallout shelter where the Marines are captured has been opened up slightly, and it makes the level a bit easier to navigate rather than this ladder that you have to try and get down, which is kind of difficult. So I think it's an improvement, but it's interesting to compare the old and new versions side by side. I do wonder if reworking the levels like this and changing things has been one of the reasons it's been delayed so long. You know, redesign all the levels and the impact that has. It's probably taken longer than just, you know, updating the graphics and making it run on modern systems. So yeah, I think that might be one of the reasons for the delay. They probably didn't realise how much work they had to do on these levels. Overall, my opinion of the demo hasn't really changed. I still think it's a really promising remake, and I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of it when it fully comes out. This video was just an excuse to point out some of the smaller details I missed the first time around and share a few extra observations after spending a bit more time with the demo. If you've spotted anything interesting that I haven't mentioned or missed, please let me know in the comments. I'll be interested to hear what you guys think of the demo. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.